Idam Lama. As part of our meditation this evening, these extraordinary words from the third patriarch of Zen, Soshan. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. But make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinion for or against. The struggle of what one likes and what one dislikes is the disease of the mind. We hear from all the great masters, including Sri Brahmananda, that all that is really needed to live in this world and not be hurt by this world, to live with a sense of inner freedom, to live without tiring easily, with infinite energy. All that is needed, we're told, is a quiet mind. So let us take this opportunity in this lovely room, this rarefied atmosphere, to drop all memory, which we can easily do by focusing on witnessing in this here now. It's very simple. All you have to do, all we have to do, is separate ourselves from the body, mind, and senses and enter into the witnessing mode. And just watch where attention is attracted. Let the thoughts come and go. Let memories come and go. Sounds, sensations. All that movement, all that change, let it happen by itself while the witness remains unchanging, unmoved, motionless. So simple. Be available to that simplicity. Thank you, Karana. Oh, the flame is still going strong. And welcome, everyone. Good to see you here. I hope you'll go home to your mothers tomorrow. And if there are mothers here, of course, Ashram wants to wish you a happy Mother's Day the whole weekend. I will remind you of something that Gurji reminded us all the time. He said, no one should leave any class or any program at the ashram without feeling that there has been some transformation that has occurred in your outlook, in your understanding. So it was his way also of getting us to pay close attention to these readings. I do myself, because I'm just the reader here. I listen to these readings. I listen even to the comments which we all feel are coming through us from our teacher to you. So there is something even in this short teaching of Soshan that should create a sudden revolutionary change in each one of us. So powerful. Wednesday night, we have the first Wednesday of the month. Ananda Ashram has a city satsang in Manhattan. If you want to know where, I have cards. But it was the Wednesday after that momentous weekend in which bin Laden was assassinated, was killed. And many people were calling and emailing, venting their joy or their anger or their fear, but it stirred up a lot of opinions, a lot of feelings from people. And so taking that as a sign that that should be addressed, I came across these teachings of Soshan, and he had just a small book of his teachings. He was the third patriarch of Zen, of Tao, and I read these words by myself, and I felt so moved by them and excited by them. I couldn't wait to read them in the program Wednesday evening, and that's why I read them here. Before I read them to the group, and we had a rather large group there, I asked how many people had opinions, one way or another, about what had happened. And of course, everybody raised his or her hand. I said, is there anyone here who doesn't have an opinion about it? And there wasn't any. And I said, well, the interesting news is that at the end of that program in the city, I said, at the end of this program, I'm quite sure you will not have any opinions about it. And they went, what did you say? I won't have an opinion? Listen to these words. And just so you won't be in suspense, at the end I asked if people held the same opinions or any opinion about what had happened on the weekend, and not a hand went up. That's how powerful this short message is. The great way, or the way to freedom, the way to enlightenment, is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, then everything becomes clear and undisguised. You reverse that. When love and hate are present, then everything becomes darkness and confusion. But when they are absent, everything in our life becomes clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. That means happiness. That means pleasure. That means pain. That means suffering. It's all together. Anytime we label a situation or an emotion or a feeling as being either hatred or love, any of the opposites, then we are moving heaven and earth infinitely apart. And this is a very simple statement, but loaded with meaning. If you wish to see the truth, to see what will free us from suffering, what will make every day a day in paradise, rather than a day in conflict, a day in bitterness, betrayal, violence. If you wish to see a different world and be in a different world, it's very easy. If you wish to see the truth, then have no opinion for or against. There's a much more comfortable seat for you right here. No, it's for you. Yeah, very comfortable. You see how easy it is with some people. The struggle of what one likes, the conflict between what one likes and what one dislikes, that is called, who remembers? What is that? That struggle had to do with the mind. That's, nobody remembers. That's the disease of the mind. That's what causes a mind to be unhealthy and ill. Our preferences, our opinions, our prejudices. This is such a serious topic, made much simpler by the reading I'm going to do now of an excerpt from Gurdjieff's translation of Atmabodha. He called it Self-Analysis and Self-Knowledge, translation and commentary of Shankaracharya's Atmabodha. Gurdjieff is taking as if he had listened to the words of Soshan, and he's making it easy for us. He's telling us what we must do to change in our everyday life and how we view other people, how we view those whom we are attached to and those whom we dislike. He says in his commentary, no one becomes as upset and nervous over his own mistakes and disturbances as he does over others' disturbing behavior. We could do the exact same thing that we're picking on someone else for doing, but we never recognize it in ourselves. Gurdjieff always said, when he talked about our tendency to find fault in others, not so much in ourselves, that we tend to see the faults and weaknesses of those we dislike as huge as Himalayan mountains. But those same faults, those same weaknesses in ourselves, he said, just like little tiny mustard seeds, not worth worrying about, just mustard seeds. So he's saying, and every word, I don't know about you, but I tend to be very honest in my old age. I don't have much time left to fool myself. So I want to see where I fit in when I read these words. He says, to become angry at others' mistakes may be natural to a layman, but the student of yoga philosophy, anybody who considers himself or herself spiritual and a yogini or yogi, the student of yoga philosophy should not become disturbed or angry. Why? Because every occurrence brings some new knowledge to our lives. So therefore, our attitude must always be impartial, and of non-identity. And it's like Gurdjieff wasn't aware of the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. But he said it this way. He knew the meaning of it, and he knew the power of it, and the practicality of it. He said, think for others whatever you think for yourself, or wish for others whatever you wish for yourself. And do not think anything for others which you do not like for yourself. This must be the primary motto of the meditator, that if whatever we wish for ourselves, we should wish for everyone. Because it's not anybody's fault if they have genes and have had circumstances and conditions in their lives that cause them to be full of anger or jealousy or hatred. He taught us very well. It was just a matter of needing individually to put it into practice, to make sure that not only did we understand that mentally, intellectually, that nothing is anybody's fault, but that we actually found a change in ourselves when we viewed behavior of people that we found objectionable. It's not their fault. And Gurdjieff was very kind to us, We would do something that we were ashamed of, feeling guilty about regarding family members or friends. And after a long soul-searching period, we would go to Gurdjieff, and he'd say, "Oh, you look terrible. What's the matter?" And very hesitantly we would confess to Gurdjieff. And he said, "It's only the mind. My mind is worse than your mind," he would say. "It's only the mind. Is it over? Yes. You want to do something better? Want to call, apologize, write a note? Not really. Okay, let nature take care. It means nature wanted that to happen. That was not your doing. My relationship with you is not on the personality level. I don't go there. My relationship," he said to all of us, "is soul to soul, not the personality. The soul, very pure. Personality, that's the product of your conditioning, not your fault." Why do you think we loved him so? He had that understanding, and he passed that on to us. And if we could forgive our own so-called wrongdoing, then it became easy to forgive the wrongdoing of others, because we understood they were just as much victims of their past as we were of ours. He goes on to say, the ultimate reality and the person who disturbs you or gives you some trouble, that ultimate reality is one reality, meaning one consciousness, one truth. Therefore, every subjective and objective phenomenon should be dissolved in the ultimate reality, in Atman itself. Meaning every difference we see disappears when we're in a state of witnessing or meditation. And if we find ourselves troubled by our prejudices, sometimes we can recognize our prejudices. We recognize our old tendencies because we saw them in our parents. What we didn't like in our parents, as we get older, we hear ourselves doing or acting or behaving in the same way to our children. And sometimes, if we're lucky, our son or daughter would say, "You sound just like Grandma." And I said, "You do?" "I do." And I, "No, I don't." But then I think about it. Children are very wise. They pick up. So you watch as you get old. I see some of you are a little over 25. So as you're getting closer to the age where you had this relationship with your mother or father, watch and you will see some tendencies are coming out. Because as Gurji said, our first guru is who? The mother. That's our first teacher. And depending on what kind of role model she or our father was, we tend to unconsciously pick up their tendencies, their way of doing that, of doing things. So Gurji is saying, the more that people disturb me, the more I shall advance in self-realization and in my aim of life. That's the suggestion you have to give to your mind. And you have to practice this suggestion for a certain amount of time and wait for results. He says the suggestion that you give to your mind and that you must practice for a certain amount of time is this one. The more that people disturb me, that's good, for the more I shall advance in self-realization and in my aim of life. He even went further and said, sometimes the people who disturb us the most hold the key to our enlightenment. That this is the frequency, this is the personality that has disturbed us, brought in these preferences and differences and opinions for lifetimes. And so we keep coming back to have another opportunity to neutralize that person. And he would often say, lucky, lucky, you have only one who's really bothering you. Some people say there were 12 in their lives, their relatives. Lucky you are if you have only one who's really bothering you. That one has the key to your enlightenment. He's not talking from any book, Gurji. He's talking from his life experience and from the experience of probably hundreds and thousands of people who came to him during his lifetime. With every phenomenon or situation created by others as a problem, you will receive more and more encouragement and insight to solve that problem. With every situation, every phenomenon created by others as a problem, you will receive more and more encouragement and insight to solve that problem. In fact, you will be happy with every problem presented by others, just as a lawyer and a physician are happy with problems presented by their clients and patients. What does he mean by that? Gurji was a physician. So he's saying, after a while, when you have been given more and more encouragement and insight in solving a problem, you'll come to be happy with every problem presented by others in the same way as a lawyer and a physician are happy with problems presented by their clients and patients. Why are they happy? The very the ones who have a high integrity and high standards will, as Maheshwari said, will be happy because they will have an opportunity to learn from those experiences. The ones who do not have such high integrity will be happy because oh, that's so sweet. That wasn't what I was thinking. I'm so bad. She said so sweetly. She said, because that will allow them to take their minds off their own problems and concentrate on others' problems. Then they shouldn't charge for that. That's where my wicked mind was going. So I think we're all right. I mean, that's true too. Everything that was said is true. But it's also true that they're happy to have more clients with more problems. If people didn't have problems, they wouldn't have any profession. They wouldn't have any business. So psychiatrists especially are very glad when they release a patient, and then a little later when maybe they're not earning enough to pay for their own rent, some of the people do start returning because of the times. That's what Gurdjieff means. He said, for all these reasons, lawyers and physicians are happy when their clients have problems, their patients have problems. Otherwise, there'd be no need for lawyers or doctors. But it was very sweet to hear your answers. See, when you get gray hair, you tend to think of some of the negative reasons too. We're a little more experienced in life. So, but it's a combination, I'm sure. They wouldn't go in for that work because it's not easy work if they didn't enjoy helping in some way. They certainly start out that way. So, on one hand, Soshan is telling us it would be wise for us to understand that every time we have an opinion about something, that we're hurting ourselves, that we're causing confusion, and negativity in our lives. I remember one time, unless I'm not recalling his exact words, Gurdjieff said, when you keep your mind very pure, very clear of prejudices, likes and dislikes, and you return to your original nature, light and love are magnetically drawn to you because that's our original nature. And many, many times when we began to see changes in ourselves or our friends, the other people living here and people we knew at home, we did see that their luck was changing when they started to meditate, when they began to look sweeter and sound sweeter. Then they began telling us that they found this job or this apartment or a new friend to help them. It was almost right after meeting Gurdjieff or coming to the ashram, we would hear about major changes. Sometimes it didn't seem like it was a good change, but any change, when there has been no change, is good. Any change. So first we had Soshan alerting us to the fact that it's very easy to be free. It's very easy to be happy. It's very easy to be released from sorrow and suffering. All you have to do is have no opinions about anything. That's hard, isn't it? Of course. But he said, no, it's actually very easy. And then Gurdjieff comes in with his practical help to be more specific about how to regard any unpleasant people or critical people, judgmental people in your life. When I'm asked about it, how did I deal with people who pull you down no matter what, no matter how you're viewing them? I said as quickly as I could, which meant that I kept visits short and I had an escape plan if I found that they were becoming family dinners or appointments with friends, that you don't run completely away from conflict or from things that are disturbing to you. You want to see that reaction and want to see if there is a way of transcending that reaction. But in the beginning, not so easy. Later on, it becomes easier. It becomes easy to tell little white lies sometimes. You're supposed to laugh a little bit at that. Because I do that. It's much better than hurting someone. Much better. So I don't want to leave you with lies, but anything. I think that you have to find a balance. You don't want to put your head in the sand because then you have to return to those same people and the same problems each and every lifetime. You want to be able to neutralize them, but not at the expense of your peace of mind, because you need that too. How many of you understand that it's a question of balance? Not running, but not forcing a situation that will absolutely cost you your peace of mind. Above all, we need peace of mind. We need peace of mind to be able to tolerate the faults of others, to be a presence for those who don't know how to deal with their own self-hatred. It's wonderful to be able to reach a point where you can love unconditionally as a best friend, as a daughter, as a son, as a father, as a mother. And that's what the gurus teach. By example, they teach the beauty and the power of loving unconditionally. It happens. Any questions about this? Yes. How do you have an opinion without? Ah, the caring is a universal caring. Caring is our nature. Our nature is compassion. But when we choose those about whom we will care and those we don't like, so we will ignore them, that means we have an opinion. The caring that you like, because I can tell from your face, is really the caring that everybody needs. And when we feel victorious over our ego or conditioning, is when we feel compassion, especially for those we don't like. When that happens, we go, whoa, what brought that change? And what brought that change was meditation, or learning to witness objectively without the judge witnessing. Sometimes people say to me, I was doing well with the witnessing until these bad thoughts came in and I couldn't witness anymore. I said, why didn't you witness the bad thoughts? But then I wouldn't be happy. I said, who said you have to be a happy witness? Just witness. Let the thoughts come and let them go. Because each time, what came out in the Wednesday program was that it's all right to see something and in the moment like that or not like that. That's all right. That's natural. But to hold on to that opinion, remembering I don't like her, or I don't like him. We may not like that vibration at the moment, but we have to realize we give off ourselves different frequencies of emotions. Sometimes if we're in our real form, we're only giving off light and love, because that's our original true form. But if we've had a bad day and we're holding on to the anger, we will be just as hateful as some of the people that we don't like for that type of frequency. What I heard one day from Gurji that released so much of my tendency to be very hard on myself, because I felt that with all the years we were with him, that we should be above prejudice. We should be above hurting people intentionally, plotting to hurt people. And I always felt that no matter how far I had come, I had fallen back. This was way back in the 60s and 70s. And he was very good at reading minds. So one night I must have looked terrible to him because he looked right at me and he said that it's not a matter of quality, it's a matter of quantity. It's not a matter of how evolved you are. It's a matter of how often you're in your real form. It's not a matter of quality. It's not that because I've been here 47 years, of course I'm much wiser. Not at all. If I seem a little calmer than I was in the 60s or the 70s, it's because I have learned to stay in the now as much as possible, not to dwell and not to project. He taught us that. So in that way, if I seem to many people that I seem calm, it's because certainly at the ashram, which is conducive to the meditative state, I'm able to get away from memories, which is our topic tonight, and get away from judgments. It's easy at the ashram. This place is powerful. It draws you into the meditative state. So it's not how wise you are, but it's how often you're in your natural state of wisdom. Please make me happy by saying you understood that. Raise your hand. Oh, good. Thank you. It's actually a very amazing understanding, isn't it? That it's not that you get wiser and wiser and wiser. It's just that you are more often in your meditative state than in your thinking state. More often transcending the body, mind, and senses than on the mental plane. So, any other question? Did that help you? Yes? Okay. Any other question related to this? A hand is up? Oh, yes. Go ahead. Thank you.
When Joshua talked about the absence of love and hate, how do you think that he related to our real nature as being? So it's two different kinds of love, the love of an object and the earthly love.
The love that is not based on an opinion is our, and as I said earlier, won't disturb us. But when we start to differentiate, I love her, but I don't love him, or I love that behavior, but I don't like that behavior, that causes trouble for us. Whereas if we could watch someone today brought up in the afternoon program that it's very difficult when certain things are going on. And I said, well, one of the things he taught us is to step outside of the drama, be a member of the audience as a witness, and see not only the behavior of those people, but see your own behavior in that drama. It's a drama. You're in the audience and you're in the play. If if we were watching a play, we would just be conscious of the great performance of that actor as he portrayed the devil or the beggar or the judge or the critic. We would be just saying, wow, that's fantastic. I cried in that because he reminded me so of this one or that one. Or we would say, you know, the lead role was the role of a demon, of a devil, and I loved it. Well, why can't we look, Gertrude would say, at our life like that? That in our life, I won't look at anybody, you'll get nervous. She or he is playing the part of the devil, and that will teach me something. Someone else is playing the part of a guru. Someone else is playing the part of a loving mother, of a judgmental father. Watch it all because you know it has only to do with the changing, the transitory. Gertrude would wake us up and say, why do you concentrate on only this mother? You've had hundreds of mothers you had problems with. Why only this mother? I could tell you about some of your other mothers, much worse than this one. And it just, opened our minds to the fact that All of these things happen on the earthly plane. These gurus come in human form, and bad things happen, so-called bad things. They have heart attacks, and they have strokes, and they have dementia and everything. But they never lose their awareness. They never lose their power, their consciousness, their joy, their joy. So when I feel a bubble of laughter coming up in me when I'm at the ashram, I remember Gurji. He was such fun, a pillar of wisdom, and yet such fun. He reminded us that this beautiful world is to be enjoyed with all its characters. Just don't have opinions about things. Enjoy we have opinions about everything. Even a day like this. Isn't a beautiful day? Well, a little cloudy. I said to someone, beautiful day. Yeah, but it's going to rain later. That's an opinion. And it removes the joy of everything. It removes the joy. So that's the difference between loving individually, that always has some subjective commentary about the ones we love. And heaven help them if they don't ultimately live up to our expectation. The topic tonight is abandon memories and expectation. Does that answer the question? The difference between unconditional love. When you're in a state of love, you're in a state of caring for everybody. Soshan tried very hard not to think about anything. He didn't, because thinking always involves opinions, always involves what he said is in our way. And so Soshan could not speak the way he spoke. He could not give that message if he was on the plane of thought. He had to be in the no mind, which is Zen Buddhism, the no mind state, what Gurji called meditation beyond the body, mind, and senses. It's only when we go beyond the mind that we're in our natural state of compassion, caring. There's a difference between indifference and no opinion. The gurus, Soshan, I'm sure, because he was so connected and identified with everybody, he was crying a lot of the time. But he did not hold on to those tears or that opinion. It happens in the moment. Something is seen, something is liked. You see some violence, you don't like it. I don't like violence. But I don't spend the rest of the day focused on that violence, because that sets in granite, in stone, that opinion. Sometimes violence is necessary. I worked in a clinic for the emotionally disturbed, an outpatient clinic. And part of the training was what to do when someone was losing control. You have two choices. If the person is not so out of control, he or she can hurt you, you just hold the person and rock the person. If it's just an emotional breakdown. But if the person is physically and psychologically out of control, do you know what you do? You run, get help. I had to do that because I wasn't qualified to take the next step. But they do slap if that's what's required. Because what's needed on the part of the patient or the client is to feel that someone's in control of that rage. That makes sense, doesn't it? But there are some you can't do that to because they're too strong. So it takes then, when you run for help, you need 5 people to sit on the person until they, to hold the person down until they feel in greater control, or you have to hospitalize them. So sometimes that violence is necessary. Can you see that? Otherwise, that person I'm thinking of would have hurt himself and others. Me, for example. But when I came to the clinic, I didn't believe in violence. I thought there had to be a nicer way. And I didn't believe in medication. Both of those changed. Sometimes medication is necessary so the person doesn't hurt himself or others too.
So take a deep breath. And now as you breathe out, release all the language, all the words. This will only be 60 seconds. So feel yourself letting go and opening up to this now, feeling it, perceiving it, imbibing it. Sometimes it only takes 1 minute to reconnect with your real life, your real home. I am that I am. That is our home. Krishna Devi, would you lead us in our traditional prayer? Mata Japita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhus Chasaka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Shanti 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 Thank you, Krishna Devi. And if some of you are feeling very high, that you may need a designated driver, take 2 cookies. Chocolate chip is a great way to come back to earth.